Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. It's a pleasure for me being the last one now in a long row of important speakers you had the chance to listen to, but it's very good for me to, as being elected in Bavaria, to have the chance to visit my capital as well. So it's always fun to be here. You know about this similar between Brussels and Berlin. Both are constructed on sand, so I'm from Bavaria, where we have stronger soil and better fundaments. And that was not only a political remark. But I've not been invited to speak about the difference between Bavaria, Berlin, and Brussels, or the things in common. I think, reading all the titles I have, I should to give you a short first view of what's going on in the next month. I think we will not be ready till the end of the Irish presidency. We will not be ready before the summer break, but we will do our utmost to achieve as soon as possible a solution. Only to give you a short remarks, I think you have to take into account that MiFID is the mother or the cornerstone of financial markets regulation, because I think it sets the standards for almost every financial instrument which is traded in our markets today, including shares, bonds, and derivatives. Only to give you a short back note, which for you is maybe well known. When the crisis started 5 years ago in the US housing market, OTC derivatives helped spreading the crisis across the world, and many markets experienced a cardiac arrest. This was, however, not the case for public equity markets, which are transparent and well regulated and which remained open for business the whole time. And the crisis played a significant role in the failure of key business, declines in consumer wealth, and a downturn in economic activity leading to a global recession and contributing to the European sovereign debt crisis, which we still are confronted with. And during we are discussing here, the head of states have their normal summit. We have a lot of summits, but the June summit is a so-called normal one. And the solution of some kinds coming out of the sovereign debt crisis are still on the agenda there. I think it was the first time that the global economy contracted since World War II, and I think it was a huge crisis in comparison to that what happened after the Black Friday in 1929. Unemployment also increased significantly in many countries. According to Eurostat, EU unemployment rose by 5.4 million to reach 21.5 million in just 1 year, which is a horrible figure. So why is MiFID the central part of our response? I think in Pittsburgh, the G20 leaders agreed that all standardized OTC derivatives contracts should be traded on exchanges or electronic trading platforms where appropriate and cleared through central counterparties by the end of 2012 at the latest. So that is the obligation. No unregulated market, no unregulated product. The Parliament did its utmost to achieve this date. We've been ready for negotiations in October 2012, which means before this date. Unfortunately, Cypriotic presidency did not follow my advice to adopt the Parliament's approach unanimously and come to an end of this legislative procedure. So we had to wait till Irish presidency now was able to establish its general approach, which is the starting point for the so-called trialogue. The MiFID II proposals were published by the European Commission already 2 years ago, so the Commission did its job in the time frame, and it was not the Commission who is responsible for that delay, but to add, it is not the Parliament as well. The aim of the review is to make our markets more transparent and safer, to take into account the impact of technology which has substantially changed the way shares are traded, and MiFID, for instance, will regulate for the first time high-frequency trading. For those in the audience who are less familiar with these European institutional processes, let me only shortly explain that MiFID will be adopted under a co-decision procedure, which is the standard procedure for legislation in the European Union, which means that Parliament is on an equal footing with the Council in deciding the legislation. The European Parliament worked intensively to improve the Commission proposal. In fact, we had to deal with more than 2,450 amendments which have been tabled. And the final report, and I'm very proud about that, received a wide political support from MEPs of all parties and all member states. Close to 95% of members of the European Parliament supported the report in the plenary. And that is something I want to add as well. We did it in the plenary, as other committees start trialogues only after a committee vote. So I think our mandate is strong. And as I was following the discussion of this panel a few minutes ago, where the hypothesis was discussed, what is going to happen if the Council will get 100% success, be assured that will not happen. Unfortunately, it will not be the other way around. 100% for Parliament will not happen either, but we are working on that. To clarify, the market structure for trading shares is one of the big issues. To slow down high-frequency trading, to avoid flash crashes, to give you a detailed example, to improve consumer protection, to limit the speculation in commodities, only to address a few of the big points which are mentioned and have to be clarified in MiFID. The European Parliament agreed its general position on the MiFID already in October, as I said. Since that, I've been waiting for the Council, and a lot of people sitting in the audience who tried or had the chance meeting me till October. I had the feeling they have forgotten me. But I'm very happy that I'm still so famous in this round. And according to my agenda, after Council was coming closer and closer, more and more appointments have been asked for. So I'm very happy that I was not forgotten by all of you. Thank you for that. I wouldn't know how to spend my time with other issues. No. So what is the roadmap ahead? The European Parliament agreed its general position on the MiFID, and now we are happy that we can do the famous trialogue, and trialogue means three parties are having a discussion together. It is Council, Parliament, and European Commission. In 1 week time, we have already done our first trialogue. We will do it next Thursday in Strasbourg, Thursday morning. And that will be the starting point where we have to clarify a lot of technical things, because it's procedural, a huge amount of paperwork. It's procedural, a huge amount of political decisions. And Maite, it's as well a huge amount of phrases work which has to be done after we have started going through all details. And to open the discussion, which an easy thing, we will start the trialogue with the issue of market structure. And if we have solved that, I think more than 40% of problems have been solved, and I'm still optimistic. No, I'm not so optimistic that we will solve it before the summer break. As my experience from the Parliament side was that even on the Parliament side, market structure was a so-called horizontal issue above all of us through all the negotiations between the various groups and the various committees. I think the Parliament's priorities are clear. Our first priority will be, of course, to find a consensus, and I can already see a number of areas where the Parliament will be able to agree with the Council, and I hope the Council sees it the same size, such as the need to find a practical solution to improve data consolidation across a very fragmented market. But that is only a small thing in a huge dossier. There are, however, also some important areas where we differ. And I had the first discussion round with the Lithuanian presidency, and they said, wow, speaking about market structure, we already agree that there should be an OTF for non-equities. And I said, wow, yeah, that's a great starting point, but that will not solve all the problems we have in the market we have in the market structure, but we are going to identify those things in common, which makes it easier to identify those points we are not yet together. Let me say from the beginning that the Parliament will be very careful, especially in the issue of investors and issuers protection. And in our view, I think no compromise can come at the cost of investors' protection or the ability of companies to found themselves on our capital markets. So that brings me directly to these famous OTFs, which have been mentioned already more than once this day in your famous convention. As you know, one important difference between Parliament's report and European Council position is whether we need so-called organized trading facilities for equity markets, as we can already agree on non-equities. The Commission initially proposed OTFs to capture banks crossing networks, BCNs, which today, and Maite, you have mentioned that a few minutes ago, escape EU regulation, and it's our common interest to bring all these kinds of trading inside the MiFID world, and that was one of the general rules Parliament has adopted. The European Parliament concluded that OTFs were not helpful because they would further increase the fragmentation of European equity markets. So that will be a huge point of discussion, especially as the Council approach and the Parliament's approach on the market structure differs from its beginning. Though the only thing we can agree is nothing outside the MiFID world, but how to bring it inside, and whether all these waivers being discussed by the Council are the right solution will be one of the big points to be discussed, not only here in working panels, but as well in the trialogue in the next weeks. Banks have argued that they need OTFs for equities to provide investors with more choice. They argue that OTFs will allow them to provide better service for premium clients. However, other parts of the industry, including exchanges and small brokers, which are represented here, are afraid of unfair competition from the largest parts of the industry. So it's our issue now to find a balanced answer. And as I had the honor to work together with Otto of Habsburg, who was the follower of the Caesar of the Austrian Emperor, he told me that they in Austria, they try to govern the country that every part of the population is likely unhappy. And it's always the best compromise if you have all participants likely unhappy. So our aim at the end of the day will be to keep all market participants likely unhappy. Then I think we have found a balanced approach. How that to translate it on OTF, sorry that I will not give you a view in my heart for the moment, because I try to deliver that together with my colleagues and then in the negotiation with the trilogue. And I'm not going to weaken my position, but you can be assured that I have something in mind, and hopefully I convince colleagues and Council, and at the end of the day, even Commission to follow, to find this balanced approach on the various market structures. The Parliament believes that it should be done through neutral platforms. We have regulated markets, we have multilateral trading facilities, and only if they are not available, it should be done by organized trading facility. That is the Parliament's approach, and I think it has some prudence in it, and we will see how the Council can be convinced about that, because Council believes that OTFs can be used to implement the trading mandate as well. So we have to develop and carefully assess what's going to happen in the market. Only to give you a short impression on high-frequency trading, you know I invented this famous minimum resting time, which is still alive. And we will see what's going to happen, as the Council did not follow the Parliament's advice on that. But we have a lot in common in the high-frequency trading issue, so I think there's a huge chance of compromising between the options Parliament is delivering and the option Council is delivering. So I'm very optimistic that we will find a solution. Whether there will be a minimum resting time included or not, that will not be the crucial point at the end of the day. But you know the general rule is nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. and that has to be taken into account for HFT as well. But I'm very optimistic that we find there really, without too long discussions, a fair solution. Why is MiFID so important? I think we have to take into account that European Union has done a lot over the last 10 years to create a deep and liquid capital market. As a result, our markets have become more and more efficient and competitive. We have to take care, and that is one of my big issues before the summer break as well, that especially in the third country regime, we are not overruling Europe or the United States, or the other way around, the United States overruling us. And when I started being rapporteur of MiFID, I said it's very easy to do. We have to adopt the FA because they say, according to their third country regime, it's very easy. Everyone who is following the FA, Dodd-Frank Act, is welcomed. But the Commission did not follow that, thanks God. And the European Parliament either, nor the European Council. But I will be after our last plenary with a delegation of ECON in the United States, in Washington, to speak with SEC and CFTC how we can solve these problems. That third country regime is not blaming United States rules nor European rules, and both can fit at the end of the day, as we have now special experience on the EMEA world, and transferring this experience to the MiFID world is a horrible vision for me. So you can be assured, no, it's really a crucial point. It's really a crucial point. You can be assured that it will be on my agenda on a high rank, as I see there are a lot of problems. The second issue I'm working for the moment as well is to keep other parts of legislation in coherence with MiFID. I always use the picture that MiFID is the mother, and the children should follow mother's advice. That's how my mother educated me. And that means that you can't invent with PRIPS new rules which are contradictory to MiFID. And if we have in MiFIR, for example, a process how intervention can be managed by national or European authorities, you can't jeopardize that by inventing new rules of approval of papers, financial papers, via PRIPS, especially if that is going to be contradictory, which will be at the end of the day for all market participants a horrible vision. And though that is one of the issues, and the other goes for IMD too, the question how financial papers or the distribution way of financial papers in comparison to insurance products is developed is one of concern as well. So you can be assured that we are taking closely note of what's going on, especially on PRIPS and IMD, to take care on that. Europe's capital markets, to come to an end, are lagging behind in providing access to long-term finance, and that is one of the main challenges we have to deal with. And that's why we have to take care with our regulation as well, because we don't want to create at the end of the day the business model for NYSE or Chicago. And if you see that in compared to the United States, stock market capitalization in the European Union accounts for only 46% of GDP compared to 104% in the United States, and bank loans to companies for 136% of the GDP in Europe compared to only 55 in the United States, gives a short picture about the challenge we have to deal with, and I think we have to do more on that. I know that this industry can help because it gives companies fresh capital, and equity markets create jobs and allow investors to invest into the real economy. So I'm sure that MiFID II will play a pivotal role because it will make capital markets safer for investors and hopefully easier to access for our companies. These months ahead will be even more challenging than the previous ones. As a rapporteur of the Parliament, I'm determined to take my responsibilities. We will do it in autumn in a period of every 2 weeks. That is my planning, to have a trialogue, and that means that my aim is to finalize the procedure till the end of the year under Lithuanian presidency, which does not mean automatically to be in December plenary, because at the end a lot of technical work and paperwork and adjustments has to be done. But after that, I think we have delivered a good solution, which is a little bit in delay, but taking into account that other parts of the world, especially in Asia, who agreed in Pittsburgh at G20 level as well, have not yet done anything in developing their financial markets. I think Europe could deliver a blueprint if we are doing properly for Asian markets as well, and that is one of the challenges I have in mind as well. So thank you very much for the invitation again. Thank you very much for all the support you're giving me in written and in discussing. Yeah. And you can be assured our aim is to finalize the whole dossier till the end of the year, that you know what's coming up for you in the next years. And hopefully, and that is my last remark, we do MiFID II so good that the need for MiFID III is postponed. Thank you very much.